And we are live. This is Darnold Jr., your favorite insurance agent, and this is Finland Live. This is the show where we talk about financial literacy. And today we're talking about the importance of financial literacy on your life personally. But before I get started, I want to do something a little bit different. So I want to play a game with you. So I'm going to guess the number that's going to be in your head. And if you're participating, go ahead and think of a number, a whole number between the numbers of 1 and 10. So you got your number in your head? Okay. Now take that number, multiply it by 2. Multiply it by 2. Okay, you got the number? Perfect. Now take that number and multiply that number by 5. Perfect. If you got that number, that's great. So now you take that number you have currently, you divide it by the original number. All right, I'll give you a little bit of time to do that because some people are good at math, some people aren't. And once you divide that number by the original number, then you subtract the number 7. And I'm going to guess the number that you have. And my guess for you is that number's 3. If I got your number, go ahead and smash that like button. I'm super excited about today's topic because it's super near and dear to my heart. It's something that I'm very passionate about educating people on how money works because school doesn't teach us how to do that. So let's go ahead without further ado and let's go ahead and get lit. All right, so if you're watching live, go ahead and put in the chat hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, put hashtag replay. I'd love to know where you're from. If you're from Houston like I am, go ahead and put in comments each town. If you're from another city, another state, go ahead and put in the chat where you're located. I'd love to see where our audience is tuning in from. So today we are talking about the importance of financial education because the difference between where you are financially right now and where you want to be is education, but not just education, but also application. So you got to apply the knowledge that you learn. And today I have a very special guest that it's not a human being. Everybody knows about ChatGPT, which is awesome. But the thing about ChatGPT is it's only good up to 2021. So it doesn't have any current events that's happening. So I got exclusive access to Google's AI. So they're developing an artificial intelligence called BARD, BARD, and I got exclusive access to it today. And so Bard is going to be the guest on our show because there are some things I've been studying financial history lately, like the history of money and a lot of current events that are happening behind the scenes. And this is something that you want to be very, very cognizant of because most Americans, most people in the world, doesn't even know this is happening. And the fact that you're going to know this is going to put you that much further ahead. So once again, it's not about the knowledge, but it's about the application. So because this information I'm about to share with you is going to be a game changer, not just to the United States, but actually to the whole wide world. And this is 2023. As you guys know, inflation is at almost an all-time high in the United States right now. And then also the mortgage rates are up. They're higher than they have been over the past couple of years. Obviously, mortgage rates were at 2-3%. It's kind of hard to get any lower than that. And they're hover around the 6 to 7% rate here in America. But one of the things that I wanted to make you aware of that's happening behind the scenes that most people aren't talking about, once again, it's going to be a game changer. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring on our guest, Bard. So notice that in the top corner it says experiment. So they literally just gave me access to Bard. And the reason I love Bard even over ChatGPT is Google has access to current events, things that are happening right now. And the thing we're going to talk about today, that if you are aware of this and you do something about it, could literally make you a lot of money in the future if you're proactive about it. Because once again, most people are going to be blindsided once this is happening. And the thing I'm referencing today is called BRICS, BRICS, BRICS. What is BRICS, you might ask? I'm glad you asked. Let's actually go ahead and ask Bard, what is BRICS? What is BRICS? And it's very similar to GPT, where you could just type in the chat. But I'm going to show you some of the things that Bard is going to share that Chat GPT will not share. So BRICS is actually an acronym for 5 of some of the largest countries in the world. And that's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And this organization was actually started back in 2009, and South Africa joined in a year later in 2010. And so the reason this is important is because if you look up the population, what percentage of the population are in the BRICS nation? And track with me, I'm going somewhere with this, so track with me. So, what percentage of the world's population are in the BRICS nations? And then hit send. So, according to Bard, it turns out there's about 41% of the world's population that are located in those 5 countries alone. Once again, track with me. I'm going somewhere with this. There's this. I'm setting you up for something that's going to be so powerful that you're not going to realize that this is happening. And this is the importance of financial literacy. Because if you understand the things that are happening behind the scenes, that it's Googleable information. Anybody can look this up. But if you're aware of this and you're proactive about this literally could put you on the right side of the future versus the not so right side. So it turns out 41% of the world's population are in those 5 countries alone. So that's 3.24 billion with the B people that are located in those countries. And the thing is, the BRICS nation is a coalition, and there's other countries that are trying to join the BRICS nation currently. And BRICS is actually putting together a system in place to be able to accept other countries to be a part of the BRICS nations. And let's see what those other countries are. What other countries are trying to join BRICS? Let's see what Bard comes out with. So, I like Bard a lot. I just started playing with it maybe a couple hours ago, and it's way different than Chat GPT. So, the thing about BRICS, there's some major players: Argentina, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and United Arab Emirates is all trying to join BRICS. So, where I'm going with this is BRICS is in the process of developing their own reserve currency. And we'll ask Bart that. This is something that most people don't know. And keep tracking with me, I'm going somewhere with this. Is BRICS trying to develop its own world currency? And let's see what Bart comes up with and what it shares with us. So it says, yes, the BRICS countries are working on developing its own reserve currency. If you don't know currently, the United States dollar is currently the world reserve currency. And if BRICS, you know, the United States relative to the population of the world is actually a very, very small percentage. But the BRICS nation is 40% of the world's population. That's a pretty substantial chunk. So if BRICS were able to dethrone the dollar as the world currency, that has huge implications for all of us. So, as you know, over the past couple of years, the United States has been printing a lot of money because of the recession or because of the pandemic. And I don't know if you realize it or not, that most of the money that the United States government prints is actually outside of the United States. About 60% of the dollars that were ever printed aren't even in America. They're in other countries. Keep tracking with me. I'm going somewhere with this. And this is where financial literacy is so important to understand the history of money, to understand the current events of money, and it helps you to anticipate what's going to happen in the future. So 60% of the dollars that were ever printed aren't even in the United States. So BRICS, all these coalitions of countries gets together and dethrones the dollar as the world currency, then guess what? They're not going to need the dollar anymore. Guess what's going to happen to all those dollars that are in other countries? They're going to flow back into the United States. What are we experiencing currently in the United States? Inflation. Why does inflation occur? Inflation occurs because there's too many dollars printed. Fortunately, 60% of those dollars are outside the United States currently. But guess what? If those dollars start flowing back into the United States, guess what's going to happen to inflation in the United States? You guessed it. Inflation is going to go through the roof. So, how can you be proactive about this and actually be on the good side of history? So the thing is, and one of the things that I haven't shared with you yet about these BRICS nations is all these BRICS nations, they're actually stockpiling gold as we speak. And don't take my word for it. Let's type it in BARD and see what BARD tells us. Are the BRICS nations stockpiling gold? Question mark. So this is so important. It says, yes, the BRICS nation, so 40% plus of the world's population is in the process of stockpiling gold right now as we speak. It said in recent years, they have been buying up gold at a record rate. You see that? Record rate. This is likely due to a number of factors, including the fact that gold is seen as a safe haven asset, the fact that BRICS countries are looking to reduce their dependence on the United States dollar. What did I just share with you guys? 40% of the world's population doesn't want to do work with the dollar anymore. Keep in mind that R in BRICS, that's Russia. What did the United States just do to Russia? We put a ton of sanctions on them, right? In essence, we weaponized the dollar. And so all these other countries are like, wow, if they did that to Russia, if we did something that the United States doesn't like, guess what? They're going to weaponize the dollar against us. This is huge, guys, because this is the mentality of these countries that's happening right now as we speak. And so if that happens and they come up with their own world reserve currency, then all those dollars that are floating around in other nations, guess what? They're going to come back here. So a little bit of more history about the dollar and how the dollar works. As you know, when they created the dollar, initially it was backed by gold. Like what that means is you could literally take your dollar and take it to the reserve and be like, okay, I want to exchange my dollar for gold. Like it was a 1-to-1 ratio. But eventually that fraction decreased where your dollar couldn't buy a 1-to-1 ratio, but it's still, you could exchange it for gold. But back in 1971, the United States was taken off the gold standard. That's so important because all the other currencies around the world were using the dollar as a reserve currency. And the reason they loved the dollar as the reserve currency is because the dollar was based on gold. But the moment they took us off the gold standard, our dollars literally became monopoly money. The government could print the dollars whenever they want to, however many they want to. And if you know anything about inflation, that's how inflation is created. It's a tax on everybody. It's a silent tax. They're not raising the tax rate. But guess what? You feel it. I feel it. When you go to the grocery store, your dollars don't buy the same amount of food they bought even a year ago. That's inflation. Housing market, the house prices are way higher than they were even 2 years ago. That's inflation. But guess what? If all that money that's floating around the world comes back into the United States, guess what's going to happen to inflation here in America? This is why it's important to have financial literacy in your life. So you're like, Donald, wow, you just uncovered this huge problem that's currently going on. The BRICS nations actually have a meeting planned this upcoming September to get together to talk about this very topic, about developing their own world reserve currency. So this might happen a lot sooner than we expect. So you're like, okay, all these BRICS nations, they're stockpiling gold. All these dollars are floating around, and there's a high potential that they might come back to America. What can I do? Donald, give me a solution. And this is just my opinion. You could do your own research. I'm not a financial planner. I'm not any of that. I'm just a good old insurance agent. But from my perspective, the key now is to buy gold. Because the currency that BRICS is developing, that's why they're stockpiling gold, is going to be based on gold again. It's going to be a little bit more secure than what the dollar is, because if you turn this BRICS currency, you could exchange it for gold, just like the United States dollar used to be, but currently isn't anymore. Guys, this is why financial literacy is so important. It's not just about what stock to buy or what real estate to buy. It's about knowing what's happening with current events that literally can impact the future, not just of the United States, but the whole world. And I am spilling the tea right now. I am giving you the heads up. If you are listening to this, guess what? You're more knowledgeable than the average American, because the average American is just focused on going to work, paying bills, going on the next vacation. They're not realizing that those dollars that they're working so hard to earn are going to be worth less. Not like completely worthless, but worth less than this time. In 5 years, it's going to be like less than it is today. In 10 years, you're going to require more dollars to buy eggs. Like that was the whole thing right now. Eggs prices have gone up. So, in order to combat that inflation, you have to buy hard assets. The reality is with gold, gold has been around for centuries. People have used gold as a basis of money for centuries. And the reality is, I don't know if you've been paying attention, gold prices have been actually increasing for the past couple weeks. So that should tell you something right there. Fortunately, you're knowledgeable, you know that now. And if gold prices start to go through the roof because BRICS decides to develop their own reserve currency, then if you own gold, guess what? You're going to be on the good side of history. People that own dollars, you probably heard the phrase savers or losers. The reason savers are losers is because the interest rate that banks are giving you to save your money, guess what? Is losing to inflation. If inflation is at 6% and the bank is only giving you 0.05% interest, you're actually losing money by saving. This is the hard reality. This is why financial literacy is so, so, so important. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is what I have for you today. Keep it nice, short, and simple. This is something that is going to dramatically change the United States. It's going to dramatically change the world, frankly. And the fact that you know this is half the battle. Application is the other half of the battle. So it's not just gold. You could buy silver too. Silver is a good hard asset. Some people are stockpiling in Bitcoin. You probably noticed Bitcoin has been going up. I think it's up over 10% the past week alone with all the banking crisis that's happening. People are like, I need somewhere else to put my money. So there's a lot happening. It's an exciting time to be alive. The rich will get richer. The poor will get poorer. It's up to you to decide which side of the coin you're going to be on. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you got any value out today, smash that like button. Share this with your friends and family. That way they could be knowledgeable just like you are. And I appreciate you guys. Stay tuned next week as we get lit.